Welcome to Global Truth. This is your host, Dr. Nasir Baig. In recent national popularity polls, New York City Mayor Zohran Mamdani has shot up the ranks to sit alongside major political icons. In fact, recent YouGov metrics place him in the top 10 most popular active politicians in America, even rubbing shoulders with figures like Barack Obama and Bernie Sanders in net favorability. This surge has sparked a powerful defiant movement across the United States of America, where we see many socialist Democrats mustering the courage to participate in coming midterm elections, daring to be themselves and openly challenging the status quo. Driven by this wave, progressive powerhouse candidates backed by Mamdani such as Brad Lander, Claire Valdez, and Darializa Avila Chevalier have already scored historic primary victories and made it to the main stage. It is clear that Mamdani's rapid historic rise has played a pivotal anchoring role in this massive progressive turnaround. Why? Why has Mamdani become such an undeniable cornerstone of modern American politics? Let's have a look. If you walked into New York City Hall right now, you wouldn't find a career politician wearing a $1,000 bespoke suit, speaking in heavily focus group talking points. Instead, you would find a 34-year-old millennial who used to be a folklore housing counselor and briefly a hip-hop artist, sitting at his desk in a casual linen blazer, probably eating street cart food he bought himself. Zohran Mamdani, the 112th mayor of New York City, the city's first Muslim mayor, its first South Asian mayor, and the youngest person to run the 5 boroughs well over a century. His tagline is simple: Mamdani, the mayor who delivers. But to understand how a self-described democratic socialist won the ultimate prize in the New York politics, you have to look at where he came from and just how drastically his style contrasts with the stiff-collared political dynasties that came before him. Let's go back to the beginning. Zohran wasn't born into a political machine. He was born in Kampala, Uganda, in 1991 to an intellectual powerhouse of a family. His father is the legendary post-colonial academic Mahmood Mamdani, and his mother is the Oscar-nominated filmmaker Mira Nair. He moved to Manhattan at age 7, eventually heading off to Bowdoin College and later settled in Astoria, Queens. He didn't start in a law firm or a corporate boardroom. He started on the front lines of the city's housing crisis, working to help everyday New Yorkers save their homes from foreclosure. That's where the political spark ignited. In 2020, he ran for state assembly as a member of the Democratic Socialists of America. He took on a powerful 5-time incumbent in the primary and won. He held that seat through fierce grassroots organizing. But when he announced he was running for mayor of New York City in late 2024, the knives came out instantly. The establishment panicked. Here was a young, brown, unapologetically progressive Muslim man running for the ultimate seat of power. The opposition didn't just critique his policies, they went full scare tactics. Depending on which paper you read or which attack ad you saw during the 2025 cycle, Mamdani was labeled a communist threat and a radical socialist trying to destroy the free market. His opponents even weaponized Islamophobic dog whistles, attacking his progressive foreign policy views and shamefully painting him as a jihadist. The real estate lobby alone poured millions into independent expenditure funds to stop him. They tried to paint him as an ideological extremist who would run the city into ground. But the harder they threw those traditional political scare tactics at him, the less they stuck. Why? Because of his campaign style. They called him a radical, but when New Yorkers actually met him, they just saw a guy who understood their rent bills. His entire 2025 campaign was anchored on a simple reality. New York is simply too expensive. to survive in. While his primary opponent, former Governor Andrew Cuomo, held heavily controlled high-dollar donor events behind tight security, Zohran practiced what political analysts called radical availability. He was everywhere. He didn't ride around in an armored SUV caravan. He took the N&W trains every single day. He took on street corners. He stood there in Jackson Heights, the Bronx, the Staten Island, answering questions from anyone who walked up to him. He was doing Instagram lives from his kitchen, breaking down complex municipal tax codes while making tea. It was a masterclass in millennial transparency. He didn't have that untouchable, stiff-collared aura that defined his predecessors like Eric Adams or Andrew Cuomo. He talked like a human being, not a press release. He validated people's frustration with the broken system because he had spent years working with tenants who were being crushed by it. That friendly, hands-on, easygoing demeanor completely flipped the script on what a politician is supposed to look like. And it worked. He mobilized an unprecedented wave of young and working-class voters, defeating Cuomo in a monumental primary upset. By November 2025, he became the first New York City mayoral candidate since 1969 to pull in over 1 million votes in the general elections. On January 1st, 2026, he took his oath on 2 historic copies of the Quran. The celebration was massive, but the immediate reality he inherited was brutal. A multi-billion-dollar structural deficit left behind by the previous administration. Critics immediately circled saying, all right, let's see how your democratic socialism handles a massive fiscal crisis. You can't just wish away a deficit. But Mamdani proved his tagline. Instead of slashing public services, closing libraries, or cutting school budgets, the classic austerity playbook, he took a completely different route. He closed a staggering $5.4 billion budget deficit by cracking down on corporate tax loopholes and imposing a flat 2% tax on New York residents, pulling in more than $1 million a year. He cleared the city's immediate debts without firing a single public school teacher or cutting a single bus route. Then came the housing battle. In the summer of 2026, his administration achieved what landlords swore was impossible: securing a comprehensive rent freeze on 1- and 2-year leases for rent-stabilized units across the city. For millions of working-class New Yorkers, that wasn't just a policy victory, it was a literal lifeline. And just recently, he rolled out a hyper-practical consumer protection rule that has everyone talking. It's dubbed the click to cancel rule. We've been there. You sign up for a gym membership or a digital subscription in one click, but trying to cancel it requires a 45-minute long phone call and a certified letter. Under Mamdani's new mandate, it is now illegal in New York for companies to trap consumers like that. If you can sign up with one click, you must be able to opt out with one click. It's a brilliant piece of municipal policy that proves his politics aren't just abstract theory, they deliver tangible everyday utility. Watching Zohran Mamdani govern forces you to look at the broader horizon. If you look at the arc of political history, the boundaries of what is possible are constantly rewriting themselves. The United States once elected a self-taught frontier lawyer who started as a humble farmer, Abraham Lincoln. Decades later, a Hollywood actor named Ronald Reagan took the Oval Office. Then the nation broke its oldest barrier by electing its first black president, Barack Obama. Even across the Atlantic, we saw the United Kingdom appointing its first British Indian Hindu Prime Minister in Rishi Sunak. History moves fast when the material conditions of the people demand change. So jokes and political vitriol aside, looking at how seamlessly this millennial democratic socialist has taken the reins of America's largest, most complex economic engine and actually started making it work for the working class, you have to ask yourself, could the United States see a Muslim president in our lifetime? If New York is any indication of where the cultural and political tide is turning, the answer isn't just maybe. It might just be a matter of time. Zohran Mamdani is proving that you don't need a corporate pedigree or a stiff collar to run a superpower city. You just have to be the mayor who actually delivers. That's it. And that's it from us today as well. Until next time, take good care of yourself.